Hi guys, I'm glad you're here with me today. Thank you very much for joining me. Please share this video, like, and subscribe. The governor of Georgia issued a state of emergency targeting supply chain crisis. Here on the State of Georgia government website, it says the global supply chain, including within the state of Georgia, has been detrimentally impacted by the outbreak of zombies. We're just going to call it zombie outbreak. Despite the state's successful mitigation of the public health impacts of zombies, Georgia's supply chain is yet to fully recover and is still experiencing severe disruptions. Whereas supply chain disruptions negatively impacted Georgia's economy and the social and economic well-being of its residents, and the governor is vested with the emergency powers cited herein as the chief executive of this state. Talks about price gouging and therefore is now prohibited. This would include motor fuel and diesel fuel. Federal rules and regulations limiting hours that operators of commercial vehicles may drive are suspended to ensure the supply chain for all supplies, goods, and services throughout Georgia is uninterrupted. The suspension will remain in effect for 30 days or until the emergency conditions cease to exist. So it sounds like they're lifting how many hours big rig drivers, truck drivers can be on the roads. But it does say no motor carrier operating under the terms of this state of emergency will require or allow an ill or fatigued driver to operate a motor vehicle. A driver who notifies a motor vehicle carrier that he or she needs immediate rest will be given at least 10 consecutive hours off duty before requiring to return to service. And this order went into effect on Saturday, April 16th, and it says it shall be valid for a period of 30 days expiring Sunday, May 15th of 2022 at midnight, unless the state of emergency is renewed by the governor. Remember when they did this, when they had that explosion at that pipeline, something like that, 3, maybe 4 years ago? And it affected all the gas stations there on the East Coast and how they ran out of fuel and stuff like that. Well, they're hoping that this will help with the supply chain issue. But if you're not getting the products, it's not going to help. Because of all the zombies there in China, they have shut down many of their ports. Monkey Weir has been documenting this. All the green dots are ships that are not moving. Green dots are products and goods and food. Red dots are evidently crude oil, oil, and gas. So I want to show you, I want to follow along here to China and show you all the vessels that are not moving. And it is thousands upon thousands of them. Look at that. Look at that. This here is Shanghai. And if you go up this river, let me make it bigger. Look at them all. According to the UN and other people who track food, we are one growing season away from a complete global food breakdown. Ships from over here take about 2 weeks to cross the ocean and deliver the goods here to the United States. Different analyses are saying that we're going to start seeing our shelves actually pretty darn bare by June. Here we have the west coast of the United States. I really don't see that many ships, let alone, I don't really see anything really being bottlenecked at any of the ports. but there isn't really a lot coming in. Let's go all the way down to Los Angeles. See, there's only a few there in the port of Los Angeles. Nothing compared to what's going on there in China. This is Long Beach. Here we have the Gulf of Mexico. Not bad. They're saying that for food, that if the fighting over there across the pond isn't finished and planting begins this year, that's going to affect the global meltdown for food. Much of the food that comes out of that one area, their ports have been destroyed or blocked, and this is affecting not just areas where they ship the grain to, sunflower and wheat, but also the Middle East and Africa, and it's kind of like a domino effect. Here in the U.S., we're having a problem getting fertilizer, but evidently Canada provides 83% of potash, which they also get nitrogen from for the farmers. And those other two countries who are currently fighting with each other, they only provide about 12% of the fertilizer to the United States, and that was figures as of last year, 2021. Poland evidently was one of the first countries to provide aid to provide food security across the nation. There in the EU, they are now going to take corn out of production that is being grown to produce ethanol, so it will be more food available for people, corn to eat. Whereas here in the United States, Biden is saying he wants more corn grown to produce more ethanol to help us with our supply problem for fuel. He's doing the complete opposite than what they're doing there in the UK. But if we have a global meltdown in food supplies, it just is my opinion, it seems to me common sense, that we shouldn't be growing it for ethanol, we should be growing it for food. Here's a Twitter post about that zombie aid that they're going to be providing for Polish farmers so they can plant more food. I'm being real careful in what I am saying because of a notice that I got from YouTube about important updates, new regulations about talking about what's going on with the zombies. Some people might call it unicorns and bears, but you can't talk about it, otherwise you're demonetized. Many of you do support me on Patreon. Other than YouTube and Patreon, which I am grateful, highly grateful for, my only income would be from Social Security, and that is only $700 a month. My Social Security would not cover my rent, would not cover my electricity, my food, cable, medicine, different things like that. So I really depend upon being monetized there on YouTube and from my loyal followers on Patreon. They're saying behind closed doors that if they do not get crops in this next planting season, meltdown of the global food system is going to happen. Even if they get the crops in this spring or fall, whichever their growing season might be, we're still going to see higher prices, more inflation, all the way through until next year. The global supply chain is also going to be affected by the sanctions. They're hoping that the sanctions will be lifted by August. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. Here it says in Europe they have set aside between 10 and 15% of the land for fallow, just sits for biodiversity purposes. They might temporarily get access to that. Tracking and eliminating some of the waste, rethinking our sources for protein are also an important part of this, he says. I guess we're going to have to start eating more bugs and fake meat. Here's talking about the limited disruption scenario would have an impact until 2024. They're hoping they'll only miss part of the coming planting season. And they're hoping that they will resume the following season. They worry that other countries will be closing their borders. They want them to continue to export to other countries. But if that does happen, Nicholas Dennis says in that case, we would miss several important milestones, several plantings and harvesting seasons. They also might see refugee situation worsen, which would mean less labor available in places where they would be needing the hands for agriculture. He says we could see an escalation of sanctions that at some point could also include some agricultural commodities. There might be several governments that stop exporting some of these commodities to countries that need them. That is a situation that could result in a significant decrease in global food trade. Certain countries would then need to rely more on their own reserves amid a tight global supply. And it says here the possibility of a global food emergency. He says we should definitely be concerned, but the extent of that concern should be assessed in the coming weeks and months. What really matters is which of these milestones in the different bread baskets, from preparing the fields to planting to harvesting, will be hit and which ones will be missed. We should also turn our attention not to just what is under the spotlight of the media today, but to some of the secondary impacts we could see. And he talks about the fertilizer situation. So I don't think it's going to really help letting truck drivers put in more hours when you don't have the goods to be delivered because of the zombies or the fighting that's going on between unicorns and bears. Supposedly we're going to start seeing the impact for the shortages, bare shelves, in June. So you guys really need to stock up and get whatever goods. It's not just food, it's electronics and furniture and clothing, medication, baby food, diapers, pet food and pet supplies. And more likely then we'll probably have rationing. Many of you have already been stocking up. Many of you have started years ago like I did. But many of us also have family members that we would feel obligated to help out if we have something that they can't get. But if you haven't stocked up, haven't started stocking up, you're going to have no one to blame but yourself when you can't find what you really, really need badly. So what are your thoughts? Please put those comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your support. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.